If you haven't heard about Anchor, it's the easiest way to make a podcast. Let me explain. It's free. There are creation tools that allow you to record and edit your podcast right from your phone or computer. Anchor will distribute your podcast for you so it can be heard on Spotify, Apple Podcast, and so many more. You can also make money from your podcast with no minimum listenership. It's everything you need to make a podcast in one place. So download the free Anchor app or go to anchor.fm to get started and have fun.
I'm so excited and I just can't fight it. I'm about to puff, pass, and I like it.
In this week's episode, we have the Puff Pastor, Brendon Wilder. Brendon was once a minister of a megachurch, and now he's a creator of quality cannabis products that embody craft and culture. Sit back, relax, and enjoy.
Brendon Wilder, Puff Pastor.
It's me.
You were a mega church minister, right?
Yes.
How has your life changed and where did your journey with cannabis begin?
Oh man. Well, my life has changed quite a bit. I've unsubscribed from religion and a lot of the thought processes that I kind of grew up being, whether it was consciously or not, but being indoctrinated into. So kind of getting away from that, just really trying to become a little bit more of a free thinker and being open-minded and considering other perspectives and things like that, rather than, a lot of what comes with religion and what the way you're taught to think is really that, yeah, we love everyone, but really we have the truth. So if they don't believe what we believe, we need to get them to change to be like us, and that's, I think, detrimental. So I try to really go the opposite approach of that nowadays. I would say the biggest thing that in my life has changed has been really probably my mindset,
Right.
But yeah, a lot of that did begin really with cannabis. I left church and religion, and then it was not even a year later that I smoked for the first time. And then from there, it really did. It kind of felt like the medicine that my mind had always needed, that I had never had. It was a weird deal. It was really natural.
That's awesome. So you leave the ministry, you start working with cannabis. How would you define your role in the cannabis industry?
Yeah, so I left the church, and it was a few years, 2.5 years before we actually moved to Oregon and dove into the industry. I dabbled with like some CBD in the early days of CBD. There was like some multi-level marketing CBD companies popping up all over the country. So like, in Dallas, being in Texas at the time, it was like there was no weed or anything like that was, real, that was being promoted legally. It was all hemp or CBD, and even then it was kind of gray. It wasn't fully legal. So like doing some CBD vape cartridges and stuff like that way early on, and now looking back, it's like it was probably straight garbage. But we moved to Oregon, and that was kind of the big thing there. Is I was working with a company in California remotely, helping them basically go from the medical market and transition into the recreational market that California had just launched at the time. So I was doing remote operations for that company, and then left there, and we launched a few brands through a processor up in Bellingham, Washington. So we were in what's called the I-502 market up there. The Washington market, it's really tough. They have, a lot of people don't know this, but every state's different. The regulations are different. Washington is one of the hardest states to operate in because they have a 37% sales tax on all cannabis. And then if you're in, Seattle, you also have a city and a county tax on top of that puts you at like 45% tax on your cannabis purchases. So really, like, businesses struggle there. And so we learned a lot of lessons there, having brands up in that market. And then ultimately spent a lot of time in Oregon observing and being consumers and getting to know farm owners and brand owners, and kind of just looking at the industry as a whole nationwide, because we weren't really tied to being anywhere. We're really wanting to go where the opportunity was. And we did some more hemp stuff, CBD stuff, and ultimately just got out here to Oklahoma to launch some brands of our own. So, yeah.
Cool. So what kind of things do you guys sell now?
Right now, we're not selling anything. We're just kind of in the startup phase of getting everything going. So we have a brand launching called Highest Intent. That's like a daily herbal wellness tincture. So it's got a combination of herbs and functional mushrooms, as well as full spectrum cannabis, strain specific. And so we have more of like an AM version and a PM version and a few different dosages in each of those. And so that'll be launching later this fall. We're really excited about that. And that's really kind of catering to a lot of the people that are new to cannabis or that have never even ventured into that world. And so instead of just going for like out here in Oklahoma, there's no cap on, like, say, edibles or tinctures. You can put 5,000 milligrams in an edible. So a lot of states, like in Oregon, that's capped at 50 milligrams per package.
Right.
Here in Oklahoma, there's no cap. So it's like a lot of people just go for crazy amounts. And with us, we're kind of going the opposite direction. We're going for more of like not a microdose, but more of a functional, a much lower dose of THC, but then using natural herbs and forms of caffeine to help boost you in the morning, while doing the opposite at night to help help your body rest and recover, wake up not feeling that edible hangover that some people have felt before.
So does this coincide with Wilder Culture Company?
Yeah, Wilder Culture Company is just kind of like our parent company that is really all things cannabis and psychedelic culture. So like in the past, we have a brand called Good Fortune Flowers that is hemp flower. And it was like some of the absolute best hemp flower in the country, completely compliant and legal, tested, all of that. It was beautiful. Just with the changing hemp laws in Texas, which is where we were going to wholesale, it was tough to really tap into the market like we wanted to. But we've done a lot of different projects through Wilder Culture Company, apparel, all sorts of different stuff. With the launching of this brand, we're relaunching Wilder Culture Company with some cool, really like more custom limited apparel drops, some cool accessories and CBD stuff that we use and would, want other people to get their hands on, so. Yeah, we'll be doing some fun stuff as we get a little bit further in the year, and especially around New Year's.
Okay, cool. So when you decided to switch gears, how did people close to you react?
Oh, man. Well, whenever we left the church, really the church that I was at, it was like the mega church, Joel Osteen type thing. So it was really kind of cultish, they would never say that, but it was very exclusive in the sense that it's like, hey, if you don't go here and spend all of your time here, we really don't have time for you. And so I had a lot of friendships that were like 10-15 year friends that whenever I left the church, it was just like, goodbye, never see you again. So that was just leaving the church, not smoking weed, nothing like that, just deciding not to go to a church anymore. So whenever we left there, it was kind of finding a whole new group of friends and reestablishing the type of people I wanted to be surrounded with. So once I started smoking, the people that were around me, it was not a big deal at all. My family maybe a little surprised, and now probably thinks I'm just a complete stoner, which it is what it is.
Yeah.
I guess the big difference is now I don't really care what people think, as to where I used to. That was the main thing,
Yeah. I think there is that struggle though, because you care about the people that you care about. So it can be challenging because I face it in my own family. They think that I'm walking around with like a needle sticking out of my arm.
Right.
Like, it's really not the case, but it is a challenge because it did upset me initially that they were so against my like life choices, because I'm like, I'm not doing anything wrong.
Right.
So it has been a struggle, but I'm finally kind of getting to the point where I'm just like, you know what, it is what it is.
Yeah, it's really unique because I mean, I feel my mom and my grandma and people like that are in my family are religious, and I know they're not fans of it. But I mean, as if you just kind of zoom out and look at it human to human, it's like, hey, I'm completely okay with your decisions, whether that be religion, no religion, whatever your sexual preference is, whatever you want to eat for lunch, coffee, you want caffeine or decaf. I really don't give a shit, like with any of it, right? I
Hmm.
respect whatever you choose. I'm happy for you. And so to kind of approach it with that mindset, I feel it's fair to ask the same in return, and if someone's belief system doesn't allow them to give you the same respect, well, it's like, I don't know what to tell you. That's on you.
Yeah.
But yeah, it is
Yeah,
tough. It's tough.
absolutely. So now that you've kind of switched gears and everything, what are challenges that you have faced as an entrepreneur?
Oh man, there's like the challenges and the lessons of entrepreneurship, and then there's separate from that the challenges and lessons of the cannabis industry, which I would say is almost just as big, if not bigger, learning curve. There's a
Yeah.
lot of I've seen a lot of people who are successful entrepreneurs dive into cannabis and fail. I've also seen a lot of people in cannabis succeed on a really high level, and they before that were not business people at all. So it's a really unique space, the cannabis industry, because there's so much knowledge, there's so much to it, and that knowledge has been around for a long time. A lot of the people that are diving in right now are thinking it's new and it's new to them, but a lot of the people we met up in Oregon, and people that have been like generational weed farm growers, so
Hmm.
it's a whole different thing whenever you look at it like that. But for me, really taking 3.5 years up in Oregon to observe the California medical and recreational market, the Washington recreational market, the Oregon medical and recreational market, as well as the gray markets all throughout, as well as the nationwide CBD and hemp market. It's like, you could be a really great business person, but if you don't take the time to understand the different markets across the different states, how regulations and taxes impact that, like, you could have a great idea, but do it in the wrong state and it may fail. You could have went over one state and it could have succeeded wildly simply because of regulations and taxes. So it's such a learning curve in that regard, but there was so much to learn about starting with the plant. And I'm talking right now a lot about, I guess, the industry and whatnot, but really starting and going back to the culture and learning about the plant, learning about the people who have been pushing the plant for 20, 30, 40 years now, like in the shadows.
Hmm.
Legalization didn't happen because like politicians finally got interested in weed. There was just finally enough of a push that you can't control it. Like the black market will be supreme if you decide that you want to go the illegal route forever. So really learning the culture and everything around it, glass blowing and music and psychedelics and psilocybin and LSD and all sorts of stuff, and learning how all this stuff's interconnected as ultimately plant medicine that's good for us as human beings. So I would say, like, the learning curve, to answer your question, there's like the business side, but man, the cannabis side is just so much more. And that's the piece that I think people should really respect a little bit more.
Yeah, absolutely. So, are you ever nervous with any potential danger that comes with the package of being someone in the cannabis industry?
Um, in what regard?
I mean, there's violence associated with it. There's a Netflix documentary. I think it's called like something something Murder Mountain, where they focus in North California,
Yeah. In
and it
Humboldt
is
County and stuff.
yeah, it's like terrifying actually. It's
Yeah.
like people run around with machetes up there.
Yeah. It's that I mean, that's one glimpse into like a small county in one of the larger states in our country, but like overall the industry, now that things have really gone medical and recreational in a lot of states, like
Mhm.
it's a lot of that stuff has kind of gone away. Like, of course, if you look at California, it's still happening. There's robberies and break-ins and theft, and and California is crazy. It's a huge state and a huge population. But if you look outside of that, and also has kind of weird laws, so there's some weird stuff there. But like here in Oklahoma, I mean, pretty much everyone who's in cannabis has guns, and that's known. So it's like, what are you going to do? But also, like, I think a big piece of that is the reason why has always been that way is because it's been a cash business. So people know that if you're in the industry that you have cash or you have high value things that you used your cash to buy. As states have turned medical and recreational, and certain, a lot of states have passed banking laws and legislature and stuff, there's been more access to banking if you are doing it legally. And so now it's not like you have to have a safe in your house full of cash. You can keep it in the bank, so that mitigates some risk. There's security, compliance things that you have to have. So, it's becoming a little bit more legitimate of an industry in that regard. I think that helps a lot. I mean, if someone decided they thought that I was, wealthy and wanted to come after me, like, I think it would be disappointing. You would find a lot of weed, like you would find weed that you could smoke, but like, I'm not, we're just regular people. Most people in the cannabis industry are like not, there's a whole like green rush mentality. It's like, oh, you dive into cannabis and you can get rich. And it's like, that's a big fugazi in my opinion. Everyone that I've seen with that mindset, man, it's quick. They're in, they're out. And it's like, whoa, we didn't have any idea what we were doing, so.
Yeah.
But no, a lot of the risks have gone away, thankfully, I feel, unless you're, if you're operating in the traditional market, then yeah, there's some legality risks and stuff that come with that, but it is what it is, I guess.
That's awesome though, that like you're not afraid, because I would be.
No.
So you're pretty much you grew up in a religious home, I'm assuming.
Yeah, kind of.
It's just been a part of your like life. Like, so you were brought to the ministry. I guess I'm trying to figure out like if it's always been a thing, that's always been your belief system, and then you have this epiphany kind of an experience. Like how has using marijuana, but not just that, shrooms, how has that helped or impacted the way that you're handling this like kind of a change? I feel like it's like such a big opposite.
Yeah, right. So I left the church 6 years ago now, to give you an idea. So it's been like a little bit of a journey for sure. I started going to that church when I was 10 years old. So in 2000. And so started going there then, went there till 2015. So I was there 15 years, and it was all it was my developmental years, my preteen years, teenage through high school. Had some stuff happen in high school that was kind of crazy in the home, where I had to like take my mom to rehab and move out to go live with some friends to finish out my senior year. And so I really like re-tapped into the church during that time, because they were like family to me, and I had already been there, 8 or 9 years at that point. So then kind of going into adulthood, it was like, what am I going to do? And I always loved speaking. Obviously, I care about people. I'm compassionate. I'm empathetic. So naturally, I just love anything having to do with people. And so I went down that road into, I think I'm telling you, I'm an empath, but then the translation would be, I have a calling to be in ministry. But, that's what I was feeling at that time, which was really just my own desire to want to do it. So it was like, okay, cool. Whatever, you're calling yourself to do it, go for it. But so I went into ministry, and for the first 3.5 years of working at the church, I was a janitor. And so it was like my actual job, 40, 50 hours a week was a janitor. And then I spent another 25 hours a week outside of that, like speaking and running ministry and different stuff. So then I finally got into running my own ministry and working on that full time. And then the more I dove into it, the more I kind of saw behind the curtain. I went on the pastor's family's private jet to the beach house in Florida, and like, I'm like living the high on the ministry cloud life. So I'm like, getting deep in and kind of just feeling something in me that says like, this is not what you want forever, you know. And I got engaged to the pastor's daughter, and then we got married. We were married for like 10 months before I left. It was a disaster, you know. It was as much me as anyone. I just didn't know who I was. I didn't know what I wanted, and I was, you know, in my early 20s, and you kind of feel like you're supposed to know what you want. And then now looking back, you're like, well, no, not really. You just figure it out as you go. Like some people guess right and they get lucky. Other people like have to try 10 different things to kind of find where they fit, you know? So all that to say, there was just that deep like intuition within myself that kind of rose up that was opposing the type of thinking I had been taught to think, which was like, if you have questions about religion, you don't ask the questions, you exercise your faith by just believing, you know. And it's like there was something in me that was saying, no, I don't think we can go with that anymore. Like you have to start asking some questions. And so just as that rose up in me, it became obvious, like this is not for me forever. I got to get out of here. I got divorced, left, you know. And then cannabis and psychedelics, you know, have been really, to answer your question, have just been a crazy, for me, healing tool, like self-healing, because, you know, you leave a situation, you're kind of in survival mode. So you're like, oh, cool, I'm fine. And then you do some therapy, you're like, yeah, cool, I've worked through it. But then like, it's 6 years later now, and there's still just stuff I think about every day that it's like, I'm working through internally with myself. And I think with cannabis and psychedelics, it allows, for me at least, it's allowed me to step out of my mind and look at it from a perspective like I can see my natural, my instincts, what I, you know, who I am at my core. I can also see my ego and what my ego wants, and I can look at it from like a third person and go, okay, like, you know, what do I really want for my life? How do I really want to respond when these things happen? How do I want my feelings to really be about this? And you can kind of like sort some shit out that otherwise could take years and years of therapy, you know, and you could still maybe
Right.
not arrive there. So they've just been great tools for me personally to just sort through a lot of stuff in my head that's like, you know, forgiving yourself and trauma and all sorts of stuff that's just, yeah, crazy, like stuff that no one tells you about. That's for sure. They
It's
didn't tell
nuts
me that when
because
I got into religion.
yeah, I mean, like you hear about it sometimes, but it's typically linked with Catholicism.
Right.
So it is kind of eye opening when you like. I know scandals that have occurred in some of my local churches, and it's like the hot goss, you know. But
Right.
like, it's just wild to know that. I guess we have to always remember that people who are involved with the church are still human.
Yeah, and there's a lot of, I think Christianity is going through an interesting time now because of like, I don't know, just the way that culture is. There's a lot of pressure put on like modern American Christianity to either stand strong in its ways or start to slowly mold into this new version of religion that's a little more acceptable. And I feel like it's kind of like splitting. And you have some churches who are more new age and like, you know, everything that the Bible talks about that's sin, the church talks about, hey, but Jesus's grace covers it all, and so you live how you want. And then there's the other side who like sticks their heels in the dirt and says, no, like, you know, more fire and brimstone, like we're not conforming to the world. And so I don't know, man. Religion's just a weird thing. I feel like it's a really old thing that I'm surprised it's still around. And it's fun. It's funny for me to say that because 6 years ago I was in it. I was all bought in, whatever. But like now being past that, it's just like, man, it's it's so outdated.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, absolutely. So now, would you consider yourself like non-denominational, or do you think you're an atheist now? Do you even have anything you would call yourself?
I mean, I would say the closest thing I would align with for sure would probably be an atheist. I don't, which is just a lack of belief in a God or creator. So like, I mean, I don't know. I've gone through so much thought and so much, like, you should just try to process stuff. I don't believe in Christianity, that's for sure. I could say pretty strongly that, if there's a God that's a creator that created the earth, then I don't think he cares about human life that much on earth. I think we can all, no matter what religion you are, agree with that. There's so many innocent people that suffer on earth for no reason, not for sins they've committed, or, so it's like, I don't know. I tend to think like, okay, well, if there is a God, if there is a creator, I'm open-minded about it, but he doesn't care about us. Like, come on, like, just looking at the earth, like, let's be real. So I don't know. I don't really,
Yeah.
there's a lot of, I would say now, like, I just really kind of focus on the stuff that's easy. So like the stuff that you don't have to really choose to believe in, like you get home, you see your dog and you have excitement and happiness and joy. Like you don't have to choose to believe in that. You don't question that and wonder if that's impure, So it's like, I just kind of focus on that stuff, like the simple shit, go back to that, love, live, laugh, love, whatever.
So, do you think that like even your views of this is a little deep, but have your views of the
Oh,
afterlife changed at all?
yes. I mean, I fully believed in the Bible before, which, meant heaven or heaven or hell. And in heaven, some people are saying that you're doing what you love all day long. And I'm like, I don't think what I love is allowed in heaven. So maybe I'm not going to be there.
Mhm.
But, and other people say, oh, you're just worshiping for eternity. I'm like, that sounds crazy. But now I don't really, I mean, my thing now, I'm like, you learn enough stuff about like mycelium and the mycelium network on the earth and how old it is and how pretty much all life, once it ceases to exist, it gets reabsorbed back into the mycelium network of the earth. And so it's like, for me, I'm like, man, just take me out into the forest and let me just decompose into the earth. And if I have a soul or a spirit or whatever that is, at that point, maybe the earth will reabsorb it, and I'll come back as something else. But I mean, I have no idea, to be honest.
Right.
I take it so not seriously now because I'm just like, who the hell knows?
I mean, really, you don't know. You really don't know.
I could sit and talk about it for days, for real,
Yeah.
but like at the end of it, I'll always step back and go, I really don't care what anyone believes or what anyone, like, because none of us know. It doesn't, hey, do what you want. That's
Right.
my thing. Like, just do you, whatever brings you joy, whatever you believe is truth, but also just, give me the respect to let me do what I want to without judging me. And that's
Yeah.
where people, I think, get hung up.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So, how do you feel legalization will impact the black market?
Like federal legalization.
Yes.
Yeah. Federal legalization, and I don't really care. Everyone I know calls it the black market, but there's been like a almost a and I don't know who's perpetuating this. I think corporate cannabis is perpetuating this. They're now calling it the traditional market
I've heard
instead
that.
of,
Yeah.
instead of the black market. I'm like, whatever, okay. Anyway, I think federal legalization will do a lot to take out the black market. I think in California, places in the mountains, you'll always have people doing their own thing. There's always going to be a black market supply of cannabis, no matter how legal it becomes. But the more legal it becomes, the less reason there is to do it illegally. You know what I'm saying? So it's like really the whole reason why there's been a black market is because there hasn't been a legal market. There's still so many states with no legal market, so they're gonna get their weed somehow, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I think though the black market is always going to be there in some regard, because then even once you talk about federal legalization, what kind of taxes and regulations does that come with, and who can really afford to do that? Is it going to be your everyday person? And that's what we love about Oklahoma. they have a really low barrier to entry. They've made it really an open market situation where it's like, hey, everyone who wants to try cannabis, try it. And in, 5, 6, 7 years, the market will kind of sort itself out. And if you're going to make it, you'll make it. But I don't think federal legalization is going to be that friendly. I think it's going to be obviously favoring larger businesses. It's going to come with its own set of things. So like me personally, I think federal decriminalization would be nice. That would be great. That would allow people to get out of jail for, weed charges that they shouldn't be there for in the first place. But I really hope that the states maintain control of it, because I just the state, you allow the states to have what they want. Some states don't want weed. That's fine. They'll have to deal with a black market, in their state because of it. But the states who do want to do it, like Oregon was the first state to pass legislature to export cannabis to another state legally. There hasn't been another state that's passed legislature to import yet, but they wanted to be, kind of like the idea of wine. I mean, you're only, if you're drinking champagne, it's grapes that came from that region of, you know what I'm saying? So it's like with cannabis, Oregon wanted to set itself up to be that type of exporter, craft small batch exporter, because they have a great climate up there for, growing and all these things. So it'll be interesting to see kind of how it unfolds. I hope it really does stay with the states, but I think in time, the federal stuff's going to come around. There's really no way around it.
Yeah.
But
So is there any part of the industry that you want to dive deeper into? Do you think that you would do cultivating and farming?
yeah, we definitely, my wife and I, we've grew some plants. We've helped at grows. We've trimmed. We've helped with huge greenhouse harvests. We've done a lot of different stuff as far as just kind of helping and absorbing information and learning and really honestly just appreciating. Like I would never, what annoys me is when people are one thing and then all of a sudden they're a master grower. And it's like, are you really like, because I know dudes who have grown for 20, 30 years illegally. That's a master grower. Like you got a certificate online. That's not a master grower. So I don't know. I have a deep respect for a lot of that stuff. And so I feel like, one thing that we kind of do that's unique is we stick to what we're good at. We do marketing, branding, product design, packaging, all this different stuff. We're really good at creating community around brands and products and educating people on why these products are superior. And so it's like, for me, I love doing that and we're good at that. And I know so many people who are passionate and super talented growers, cultivators. And so the way I like to do it, I like to partner with people who are already rocking it, and kind of expand the network that much further. So we do have some stuff that we're working on for maybe next year, bringing some partners in to do a grow operation here in Oklahoma. It's just, I love being around plants and I love the whole aspect of it. So it would be crazy to not do it, since we're in the industry. But that is definitely one of our goals. We want to be as vertically integrated as we can in at least one state,
That's so cool. I think farming would be really neat.
It's fun. It's super fun. I don't know what your laws are like up there, if you can home grow or not, but if you ever are in a state where you can grow plants at home, like it's super fun. Even if the weed that comes from it is no good and you don't want to smoke it, it's just fun to watch the plant do its thing for a few months and realize that like this plant doing this cycle has been happening for so long. And now we've kind of bred and cultivated, an industry and a way of doing it both outdoors and in greenhouses and indoors and different types of lights and, breeding projects to create new strains. And it's like, man, it all comes back at the end of it really to just the plant that grows and wants to try to reproduce. So it puts out a flower when the light hits a certain schedule in the year, It's such a simple thing, but it's become so much now.
Yeah. So you were married to the pastor's daughter.
Yeah.
Divorced.
Yep.
Where does Anna come into the picture?
She worked for me or she worked in a different department, but we worked together in a few different projects at the church. She had been at the
Okay.
church for a few years as well. And we became really good friends working together. And it was one of those things where it was kind of like, it was weird. We were both going through the same type of thing, having these questions and feelings about religion in general. And yeah, we kind of said, all right, cool. Well, I'm going to do my thing. You do your thing. And if you're on the other side of this whole, because it's like, you think leaving a church is not a big deal. You just stop going, right? But it's like, imagine, you've worked at a job for 40 years and everyone there. And if you leave, everyone's going to hate you. Like, that's kind of how it was, like it was so heavy. It was so like, you're just saying goodbye to all of your relationships, all of your network, all of your, your whole resume is ministry. So now what are you going to, you're changing careers. It's a whole thing. And so, yeah, we left kind of separately, made our own decisions. And then, we were away from that. And so we kind of relinked up and just were stuck together from that point. We have a solid trauma bond from religion. So,
Yeah.
but it's been good. Like we're best friends, and we were friends long before there was anything romantic with us. And we work together every day, and we just love spending time together. It's one of those things where it's like it's the easiest situation and it's the best situation. So it's like usually the best thing is not easy, but in this case, we got super lucky. We just get along really well and love being together.
That's awesome. Yeah,
Yeah.
she's really great. And it's kind of like when things are meant to be, that they really are meant to be.
Yeah.
Whether you believe in a higher power or not, I think that it's like when things like that occur, it's really nice.
Mm-hmm.
So you have your website coming back in 2 months, right?
Yes.
Do you have any other projects that you're working on that are set in stone?
We have Highest Intent, our tincture brand that's launching here in Oklahoma. And then we'll have a CBD version of that we sell online that we can ship nationwide. So that'll be coming soon. And then we have another brand here in Oklahoma that it's a pre-rolled hemp wrap blunt. And then we're going to also do an actual like tobacco leaf version as well. But that'll be probably like January launch. So yeah, we have a few different brands launching here in Oklahoma in the cannabis market. And then we're going to try to get some CBD versions of that out so that we can get that nationwide. And then from there, really the goal is just to start tapping into other states, where we have networks, and start trying to get more quality medicine out to people,
That's awesome. Well, I really appreciate you taking the time to speak with me today.
Yeah.
And for the last question, I just would like you to let us know where our friends could find you.
You can find really the best place, honestly, and I know this is going to sound amateur, but my Instagram is just, me living my life every day. So like everything we do, I'll always promote through there. And the way that I kind of am now is like, I'm just an open book. I'm transparent. Like if you follow me on Instagram, you probably actually know me pretty well, because I just, it's like, I like to connect with people who are like-minded. And I feel like the more you are just open and vulnerable and put yourself out there, the more you kind of attract that same thing,
Right.
You can find like-minded people. So my Instagram is just the Puff Pastor. My wife is Canna Wilder, like Anna Wilder. That's her name, but with the C, like cannabis. Canna Wilder.
2 N's.
Yeah, 2 N's. Canna Wilder. And yeah, follow us there. We'll have other stuff launching soon, and it'll be fun.
Awesome. Thank you so much again. It was an absolute pleasure, and I can't wait to talk to you on the gram.
Yes. Thank you guys for having me. I'm excited to listen to some more podcasts. I'm excited to see who else you have coming up.
Yay. Thanks. All right.
Yeah.
Thanks again.
See ya.
Oh, wait, and tell Anna hi.
Will do.
Thanks. Bye. I hope you guys liked this episode. I sure did. Make sure you follow Brendon at The Puff Pastor on Instagram, and there you'll also find his wife. Please also like and subscribe this and tell all your friends. Let's all be friends. Thanks again.